very similar to like the Nidus stuff. Like you can do it all. It's just, you know, kind of underwhelming in general.
But she's just not like it anymore, you know? So I think she belongs in C tier.
It does pain me to say it, but Trinity is D tier. There really is just no use for her kit anywhere.
Who's this? Is this Trinity? This is Trinity. Yeah, this is so sad that I get to do this. Long story short, I feel so sorry for Trinity, because Trinity is a Warframe that she held our hand in the past, and she really helped us in so many metas, in so many different ways. Trinity was there for us, but we have outgrew Trinity.
Hi, come in, please, take a seat. This time, in the Warframe restaurant, we will be having lobster tail. Now, this lobster tail, better known as Trinity, is probably one of the most outdated Warframes in the game at the moment. So I try to get her kit to a state where she can actually perform in missions. However, while making and recording this video, this happened.
So what she's about, she's a support frame. She has protection for allies. She has debuffs against enemies. Show an image somewhere around here. Is that she has 2 mod slots that are dedicated to auras. You can select from. So if I activate it here, you can see I get squad shield effectiveness, and you can see my overshields are growing. It costs me no energy. So I just switched to this one, which this increases my ability strength. And then after that, you could switch to the other aura, which is weapon damage increase for the squads. For her third ability, any enemy that's on her sight gets slowed down and gets their armor removed. And I can just use my third ability and I can revive him at a distance just by looking at him. And finally, she takes flight. As you can see, she moves kind of similar to Hildrim. This is actually an exalted weapon, so you can just shoot enemies with it. As you can see, does quite a bit of damage, or you can mark them with your 1, and then you can use your outfire to detonate them for ludicrous amounts of damage.
Bruh. So this made the idea of Trinity even worse. Now, I did find a build for Trinity that makes her decent, and it's about using her kit to the maximum potential, as well as combining it with probably one of the best builds in general in the game, which is a electric melee influence Innodem. And yeah, you've seen the clips. I will run you through the builds, and we will discuss along the way. So first, let's look at the Trinity build. For Trinity, I'm running the following Archon shards. I have 3 ability strength shards, and I have 2 casting speed shards. Casting speed is really nice because most of her abilities will have a casting animation that takes time to cast. So slowing these down will greatly improve how she feels to play. Then for the builds, there's 3 different builds I've been using. All of them will use a baiting link to reduce the armor. This will also strip armor of acolytes, for instance, as well as void angels and enemies like that. It will not strip armor of archons or the stalker, because it will not connect to the stalker for some reason. For the arcanes, I'm running arcane strike to up our Innodem combo, and I'm running Mold augmented. Mold augmented is there for extra ability strength. Then this is a flex slot. Currently I'm using Piercing Roar because I have Roar subsumed on her Well of Life ability, on her first ability. We would like to get Roar to a really high percentage because it skills our electric procs that we will get from melee influence with the Innodem, or gas electric if you are running that combination on your Innodem. I'm using Rolling Guard for the moments where our shield gates are down, or just to avoid some finicky scenarios. I'm using Primed Flow to up our energy, so if we regen our energy with Energy Vampire, we have a nice large energy pool. This also helps us cast Blessing real quick if we need our shield gate back. A Blessing will fully regain our shield, so we have full shield gate duration. Then I'm using Link with a reasonable range, so even though I'm using Narrow-Minded to get the duration of all of our abilities really high, I compensate the loss in range with a stretch mod, so our Link still is able to link to some enemies that are farther away. Blessing, I mean, it has a 100% restoration already at 150% power strength, and Link, I believe, will go up to 100% armor reduction if you are using a baiting Link at around 170 power strength. So this power strength increase is really just for Energy Vampire damage together with Roar, which I will get into a little bit later in the video. Energy Vampire can be used for like a build where you instantly obliterate all of the enemies which you use Energy Vampire on. Then I'm also using Growing Power to increase the ability strength, and that's pretty much it. I have two other builds that I've also been using. The first one is this Shooting Gallery with Muzzle Flash build. This stuns enemies through walls. It doesn't have line of sight. And what's nice about this is it opens them up for finishers, which on the Innodem, the passive on the Innodem or the unique ability on the Innodem grants you damage reduction if you do a finisher. In addition to this, blinding enemies either with Shooting Gallery Muzzle Flash or Breach Surge will also increase the damage that enemies take by 8 times because a stealth multiplier will be applied to your melee attacks. So this helps scale your gas procs, electric procs that you get from melee influence. So those are the two other builds. It's pretty much copied over. However, I'm using Overextended in these builds to increase the range of both of the blinds. On the Breach Surge build, I'm using Natural Talent to speed up the casting animation because it's a little bit sluggish. And then on this one, we have to run the augment for the flash to occur. So that's it for the Trinity builds. Then for the Innodem build, we are using an armor strip melee influence Innodem build. So this means that we are running the Argonac. The Argonac has a special mod, which is this Amalgam Argonac Metal Auger. When you deal damage with daggers, and this also applies to any of the hits that you get from melee influence, it will reduce enemy armor by 6. So it's not a percentage, it's a base armor value that will get stripped off. So with enough hits, all of the targets will lose their armor. Now, we don't really care if they're fully stripped because usually the electric procs are already enough damage together with all of the viral and all of the other effects that are going on. But it's just that within melee influence range, we will be stripping all of the armor, which maybe our Link isn't connecting to the targets. They will get their armor stripped from this mod. Then I'm using a Lex Prime on the secondary slot to deal with Acolytes because the build will struggle a little bit against Acolytes. Using the Lex Prime basically means that you can insta-kill Acolytes. I have this Riven mod. If you don't have this Riven mod, you can run something else. Lethal Torrent is also a good one. Then on both the primary and the secondary, I'm running Dexterity to increase our combo duration. And then finally, we have the star of the show, the Innodem. I will go over the Incarnate perks first. So on this first evolution, you will get a huge bump to your range, which means that the Innodem, even though it's a dagger, will have an insane amount of range on it, which is really good to spread influence and status procs amongst your enemies. Then on the second evolution, you can either go for the extra range, which you do not really need because you have so much already. So I went for the attack speed instead, because as you see, the attack speed of the Innodem, even with this, is quite low. Then for the third one, I'm using the increased range of aerial melee attacks. You can also go for the finisher damage, but finishers are a bit hard to come by if you're not playing the Muzzle Flash build. Breach Surge will not open up enemies for finishers, it's only the Muzzle Flash build. Then you can also take this one, which is 5 combo for every 10 meters of continuous slide. If you do not really want to use Dexterity Arcanes, this is a nice way to keep your combo multiplier up. However, I went for the range. For the fourth one, I have on airborne melee kill plus 50% melee damage for 10 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. This will also trigger if you have any enemies dying of your status procs while you are in the air. You do not need to do the Innodem unique attack. Just being in the air and having enemies die from your status procs from the Innodem will charge this as well. So every now and then, if you just jump up in the air and aim glide for like a second or two, you will get this buff. And then on the 4th, I have heavy attack efficiency after you've performed a finisher. So this is also nice to combine with the Muscle Flash build that I've shown. Then on the Innodem, I have a Riven mod, which is melee damage, status chance, electricity, and minus range. As we are stacking range and we have a lot of range already, the minus range isn't too big of a deal, but not having the minus range would be better. Then I'm using some crit, increasing the crit chance. I have critical damage on there as well to scale the status procs, mainly the electric, because I'm not running gas on this at the moment. I have condition overload because we will be applying a lot of status effects on a bunch of different enemies. So this will up our melee damage more than, for instance, prime pressure point would. I'm using both blood rush and weeping wounds to increase the crit chance and the status chance further. If you do not have a Riven with status chance or any status chance mods for that matter, Weeping Wounds will scale to over 100% status chance. Just with Weeping Wounds you will have enough. And then I'm using a Bane mod to double dip on our electric or electric gas procs. So as I said, you can also go with a Fart, aka the gas. In this case, the build would look something like this. So you would not run the Bane and the crit, you would have the gas mods here. You can also consider picking up an Innodem Riven that has both of these on, which will save you 1 mod slot at least. And then again, this build is dependent on melee influence. So for the special unique trait of the Innodem, we have this. If you are aim gliding after activating Incarnate mode, you will shoot out projectiles from your dagger, dealing radiation damage. And like I said, if you perform a finisher while in Incarnate mode, you will get damage reduction by 10%. Now, these damage reduction stacks of 10% are multiplicative with each other. This means that the total amount of damage reduction that you will get will be like about 37% instead of the 40, which you might expect. But this damage reduction will stack on top of the damage reduction you get from Blessing and from Link. So you will have loads of damage reduction, which all of these also apply to your shields. I'm not sure about the Innodem damage reduction, but both Blessing and Link will apply their damage reduction to your shield as well. So that's it for all of the Warframe and weapon builds. Then for the pet, I'm using a Panzer Vulpaphyla to spread viral, because I'm not running viral on the Innodem. Here I'm using viral quails, contagious bonds, prime pack leader, because we are meleeing, so this will make sure that our Panzer stays alive, and those are pretty much all of the mods you need. Okay, so then for a small Simulacrum Showcase, I have some bombards. You would just go around, melee them, and they're already dead. Now, you can also proc melee influence with the aerial missiles, which I mentioned. So what you can do is you can jump up. There you go. So this at the moment is on the gas build, as you see. If you are not going for super high levels, gas will be really, really good. Let's show you again. There we go, melee influence procced. Stuff is stripped, and they're all dead. So I will have a gameplay showcase a little bit at the end as well, so you can see me in a mission using this combination. I was able to get up to about 147 kills per minute in a circular survival, but this is mainly based on the Innodem build and not necessarily on the Trinity build. So DE, please, if you by chance see this video and like my restaurant, please make our lobster till taste great again. So last week I said that I would be giving away a pangolin Riven. The winner for the pangolin Riven is Carlos Moreno. I will reply to your comment and we can meet up in game and I will trade you the Riven. For this week I am also giving away a Riven. The Riven for this week will be for the Innodem. I will be giving away a better Riven than I currently have on the weapon. I would say so. It's this one. It's combo duration, melee damage, electricity, and minus critical chance for a slide attack. So if you're interested in winning this Innodem Riven, please leave a comment and a like on this video. And then I want to get into the EV Trinity Nuke build, which is not the main star of the video, but I did show some clips of it. It's one of the builds for Trinity that can easily scale to level cap, and it's probably the best way to build Trinity, apart from maybe this Innodem combo. So with the EV build, this has also recently been shown again by Nightmare Frame. However, his build isn't really optimized, and I will explain why. So this is the build that I've used to go to a level cap. I'm running Vampire Leech, Natural Talent. I'm then running Arcane Aegis to stay alive a little bit easier. And I'm running, on the Helminth, I'm running Marked for Death on the Link slot, because we are draining our duration as much as possible. This will cause Energy Vampire to release its pulses really quickly in just about 1 second. And this is able to, with enough viral stacks, instantly kill the enemy. Now, why Nightmare Frame's build wasn't optimized is because of a couple of reasons. First, he was stacking way too much ability damage on his shards with all of the corrosive stuff. If you are priming anyways and you have that much power strength, at some point there will be diminishing returns where you will insta-kill the enemy anyway, or it will be like within the 3 pulses or the 4 pulses that you get from Energy Vampire. And if you're already priming anyway, there's no point running those ability damage shards. It's just a waste. At that point, it's better to run the casting speed just to improve the flow of the build and actually up your survivability, because it will allow you to cast your abilities faster and reset your shield gates faster as well. So I will show a spreadsheet that I made and I will go into that. So let me just pull that up and then I will continue the explanation. Okay, so here's the spreadsheet. What this basically shows is the different builds you can use for Energy Vampire on Trinity. There's also an argument to be made to use Roar, because Roar will scale the damage of the Energy Vampire ability. So I made this spreadsheet to show you how EV works and when it would kill enemies. So first, on your normal EV cast, this will be based on the current health of the enemy, which means that if the enemy has full health, it will take the most amount of damage. This also means that your primers are actually better if they deal less damage to the target, especially at lower levels, because EV will basically lose all of its damage if the target is on half health when you cast it. However, if you get below 25% health left, instead of using the current health of the target, the scaling of EV's damage will actually be with the maximum health that the target has. So this will pretty much then one-shot targets if they are below 25% health. Now what can happen is you can have Pulse 1, which reduces the health on the target, for instance, to 50%, and Pulse 2 might do it to, I don't know, 30%, Pulse 3 to 25, and then Pulse 4, because it's exactly at 25, will then scale with the maximum health instead of the current health. So what you can do in this spreadsheet is you can put in the Archon shards that you have for your ability damage. So let's say I'm running 3 Tau Forge shards. You can see damage numbers change, and then sometimes these cells will go from either the target lives to the target is killed. So I have 3 tables. One is just the base EV table. So if you are not using Roar or Marked for Death, you can see what happens. So the viral is here because viral scales the EV damage even if the armor isn't removed. So yeah, what you can also see is Marked for Death. It's a bit odd. What happens with Marked for Death is if EV triggers on the target, Marked for Death will duplicate EV's damage. So you will have 2 damage instances proccing after each other if you cast EV on a target. So what you can then do is you can up your power strength as well. So let's say on my build I have 299. You can already see just on the base EV table stuff is still living, but everything dies on the 4th pulse. And on both of the other builds, on the Roar as well as the Marked for Death table, everything is killed. If I remove this ability damage, you can see that in the marked for death build, which Nightmare Frame was using, everything is still killed, even if you have just one viral stack. So it does not make sense to use those ability damage shards at all. You can also use this to figure out if you have less power strength, or if you want to swap some mods around. Let's say you have 200. Oh, look, now my one viral stack doesn't kill a marked for death target anymore. So what I can do is I can say, okay, well then instead, maybe if I'm running 2 ability damage shards, I can kill the enemy with one viral stack. And in this case, it didn't happen. So maybe I need to run, I don't know, 3 shards. Well, still not it. 4 shards. There we go. So you can use this to figure out how you would plan out your Archon shards, either for power strength, which you will just put in the power strength input, or the ability damage, which you will put here. Now the health, I put this in, but it really doesn't matter at all because Eevee will scale with the health on the target. So in either case, if Eevee kills the target straight away, it doesn't matter how much health the target has because it's true damage. There's some notes here as well if you want to read them. And I will share this spreadsheet in the description so you can use it yourself as well. And with that, I'm pretty much at the end of this video. I hope you learned something and enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing as well. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.